helpful. I want to ask you about this, your new memoir, which is out in March, which is called Recollections of My Non-Existence. And you were very kindly earlier telling me about this image of you that's on the cover, which is such a great image.
Yeah, no, it's a photograph of me at 19 when I was very, very thin and very, very poor. I kind of made my own way, and I just moved into my first good apartment. It was $200 a month in a black neighborhood. Wonderful black building manager invited me, made it possible for me to move in, and that was my home for 25 years, the home in which I became a writer. But it's about voices and voicelessness, really, and it's about the kind of experiences of violence against women I've so often written about in much more objective and impersonal ways, citing statistics, looking at social tendencies, etc. My own experience of constant sexual harassment and threat as a young woman, which was so intense that I had a few years where I really kind of had pretty intense PTSD behavior. But it's also about what were those circumstances where a man, where you couldn't say no, because, you know, that deep voicelessness, you couldn't say, you can't do that to me, you couldn't say, you know, don't, you know, like, no, I'm not interested. Like, if, everyone who's female here knows if you say no, sometimes you say no to those guys and they only get angrier. So I had these experiences of deep voicelessness where my words did nothing. First of all, like, they couldn't set any boundaries, couldn't create the space for me to choose what did and didn't happen to me. And then often afterwards, people couldn't hear me, didn't believe me, etc. So there's another kind of voicelessness. So it's really, really the feminism I've been doing for the last dozen years, since I wrote Men Explain Things, you know, really for the last 35 years. I published my first feminist essay in 1985. You're looking at that and it's like, yes, and I was only a bold theory some people had that would happen several years hence. But, you know, is that I thought, but with the recent stuff, I was writing about violence against women, and I realized I was really writing about voicelessness. What happens when no one believes you? What happens when your voice, which isn't just the ability to make sounds, but it's the ability to use your voice to establish, you know, your path, to assert your will, to set your boundaries, to bear witness. You know, your voice is your humanity, your power, your membership in a society. And if you don't have it, and it happens as much, you know, I just read Chanel Miller's amazing memoir. She's the woman who's raped by the Stanford, or sexually assaulted by the Stanford swimmer, and, you know, who was anonymous all those years. But she talks about the way that afterwards, the whole medical, legal procedure was like a whole other round of being degraded, discredited, devalued, treated as not a competent witness to her own life. So I really wanted to talk about those questions about voice and talk about becoming a writer while having all those extremely ordinary experiences young women do. You know, this very specific quest to have a particular kind of voice that means writing books, as well as having the ordinary voice people have in conversation to say, no, that didn't happen. You're not going to gaslight me on that. So, and to struggle for other people, you know, to become a voice in defense of other people's voices. Right. So, you know, I haven't had to, this is literally the first time I've talked in anything vaguely resembling public about it. So you can see I'm still figuring out how to talk about it.